Hey guys, so it's the next morning and I'm still carving on the hickory stick. I'm working on all the sections for the pawns. As you can see here, everything's measured off and kind of marked. And I'm starting the process of trimming down the uh, the hickory stick, the dimensions to the correct size. And here's a couple of the pawns that I'm working on right here. Uh, buddy of mine, Kevin, from Origin Knives, who actually made the knives that I'm using for this project, uh, uh, I was talking with him the other day. He goes, "Oh, he goes, you could save some of the wood by just doing everything in sections together. You know, head to head, end to end, carve it all out in one go, and you would have to make less saw cuts to separate everything." Pretty good idea. So, and also as I work my way down, it gives me a handle on this end to hold when I'm making different cuts. But right now, everything's going really, really good. I was just going to show you a few of the things that I'm doing. After I get through getting all the pawns taken care of and finished, then the next one will be I'll go back to the dogwood and I'll be working on either the rooks or the bishops or something like that, and take care of that with the dogwood and the Shirley, and then I'll switch back to the hickory with the woodsman. I'm trimming this section down, and getting rid of the old wood here on the outside has gotten chewed up a little bit by some of the bugs. One of the nice things about this section of the woodsman, the convex here is so thin that I can just slide it right up underneath the wood and take the sections off. And get through all the bug stuff. The hickory is a good hard wood, but it's not as hard as the dogwood, especially this outer section. So just trim through that. Now, again, this is one of the little dogwood pawns, and it fits through the circle here on the number 1. So for these 2 pawns here, I've trimmed it down, trimmed that down. This was a little tight, but it will go all the way to there. So I'm going to continue to thin this one a little bit and thin this one a lot more, and I'll work my way all the way down where all the pawns are the same diameter. And with like using the woodsman, I end up grabbing the blade a lot, putting my finger on the underside of the guard there. There's 2 curves, being a kukri and a tracker. You have the quarter round right here, and then you have the kukri curve right there, and both are useful. Um, you see how I'm bracing the back of that spine there. I'm bracing that with my fingers. I can set the stick on my hand and pull curls like that, and it's very controlled, and it needs to be. I've got my palm right here. uh, you know Things can get in the way and get cut, so by just using my fingers to push the blade along, it's in control and I don't have to worry about nicking myself. If I don't want to use the quarter round, I can also use the kukri curve in very much the same way. The nice thing about you having the curves, or these two separate curves here, rounding the stick is a lot easier. That's a little harder to do if you've got a straight edge, or at least it's harder for me to do with a straight edge. But with a quarter round or with a kukri curve, you can really get in there and even everything out. Now, I'm not going to sand these down. That's about right there. Let me see if I can focus this in. That's about as refined as I want these to be. I want them to look rustic. So when I'm carving out sections like the pawns here, I use that thin draw knife edge to score this all in sections. There's the base, there is just above the base, this little mid ridge, there's two there, where the cut is there, and the top ridge here. And then also, as you see here, between the two heads. By sectioning those off, I can work to remove the wood that I don't want there. And so that real fine edge, I'll show you here, this really fine edge here is very handy for that. Another thing to notice on the construction on the Woodsman, same way with the Shirley, the point here has a swedge to it. Now, originally that's designed for splitting wood, being able to twist and split kindling. But it also works really good whenever you're using the point of the knife doing fine work. It's really nice to be able to put my thumb up against kind of that rounded swedge as opposed to a 90-degree right here. It's way more comfortable. Most of the time, if I've got a grip like this, I like using a little pinky lanyard to kind of balance and hold everything in place. I don't have to concentrate quite so much on keeping a grip on the blade. And here with using the point, this section here where the two pieces, the two heads meet, and underneath that is kind of tricky, and it's nice to be able to just put your thumb on the swedge. You can get right in there, clear out the parts that you don't want. Just like that. And then to clear it, to take out, you guys can see this. You guys can see the little bitty pieces of wood right there. They're somewhat attached. I can clear that up just by bringing the edge down. And done. So I've peeled the wood back here, and hickory is kind of straight grain, kind of stringy, and I need to get rid of these, and I want to make sure I keep my line so I know I have the length correct on all the pieces. And for that, draw knife on, make sure you guys can see that. You guys can see it, the original line is right there. Put the draw knife on that. and I can see what I'm doing. When you're doing a motion like this, the safest way is actually to have the knife underneath, put your thumb against it like this, off to the side, and then turn towards yourself like this. You can generate a lot of force and cutting power. But what I'm doing is a little bit different. I'm trying to make sure I'm exactly on the spot that I want to be. So I'm coming from the top and I'm turning with my hand. Now, when you're doing that, you have to be really careful that you're not going to generate more force than you can handle and get a surprise slip. So keep your other hand well away from the edge. Make sure there's nothing out here that's going to get cut. And don't overpressure it. Don't put too much pressure on that edge, because at some point it is going to slide, and I'm showing you here kind of how that can happen. So just go nice and easy. Get the line that you want, and then you can just cut right down into it like that. One of the things I do want to go over, doesn't matter if it's a big blade like this that weighs 26 ounces or a little blade like the Shirley. Anytime you're working with your hands, cutting wood or whatever the material is, keep in mind how much pressure you're generating with that cutting hand, okay? Because as you're digging into something, as you're sliding across it, you can feel the pressure build up, especially if it's stuck, if it's not moving, and you can feel that pressure gauge go up, up, up. At some point, it's going to break loose. When it does, you can't stop that because you're reacting to it. So you're always going to be slower than the action. The reaction is always slower. So no matter what you think, control you think you have, it's still going to go forward. And of course, the bigger knife is going to go forward with more inertia because it's got more weight. So always make sure that everything out in front of that is clear. And the best way to get around things like that, don't let the pressure build up. Don't get yourself in a situation where you're sitting there really cranking on that spot and letting that pressure build. That should be your danger warning. Back off, go at it from another direction. It's not worth the recovery time of getting hurt, getting injured, or getting somebody else hurt. So it's just something to think about. It doesn't matter if it's big blades or small blades. When you feel the pressure go up, your warning light should be going off. Maybe there's a better way to do it. So anyway, that's my tip for the day. Okay, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Part 4 will be coming up shortly. Until then, stay safe, take care, and God bless.